Hey everyone. Starting with this episode, I want to do a series about Zhong Kui. Today's episode is about one thing only. He may not have been a person at all. I don't mean it in the sense that mythological figures generally aren't real. I mean there's a specific line of evidence pointing somewhere, stranger, that Zhong Kui began as an object, a thing used for hitting ghosts. It took 1500 years to grow a name, a face, a life story, a temper, and finally to become a man. That line of evidence was written down by an 18th century scholar. I'll read you his exact words at the end. There's one more piece in the middle that I found myself, and that one hits harder. Start with the picture you already know. Heavy brows, a bristling beard, an official's robe, a sword, usually a glare. That face is so familiar, nobody stops to ask where it came from. So let's ask. A Qing writer recording the seasonal customs of Beijing noted that at the Duangwu festival, shops printed images of fangxiangshi and Zhong Kui on yellow paper and hung them out for sale. People bought them and pasted them on the middle gate to ward off evil. Duanwu is the 5th day of the 5th month, early summer. But the paperwork the Tang left behind has Zhong Kui pictures going out at the end of the year. Liu Yuxi, writing on behalf of 2 senior officials, drafted memorials of thanks. The content is concrete. A palace envoy arrives with an imperial order and 2 gifts, 1 painting of Zhong Kui, 1 scroll of the new calendar. The season is stated plainly, year's end. 1 at the start of the year, 1 in the middle of it, 1,000 years apart, and half a year apart. How does the same man move from January to June? That's the first crack. Hold on to it, we'll come back. So where did the picture come from? From the Tang onward, there was a standard answer, and a good one. An emperor had a dream. In the Kaiyuan era, the emperor Xuanzong fell ill. It was malaria, and he was staying in a small hall. He dreamed of 2 ghosts, 1 large and 1 small. The small one looked strange. 1 foot had no shoe on it. The shoe was hanging from its waist. It had stolen a perfume sachet belonging to Yang Guifei, the emperor's consort, and it had made off with the emperor's jade flute. It ran laps around the hall playing the flute as it went, making a racket nobody could stand. The large one stepped up, seized it, put out his right thumb, gouged out its eye, and ate the whole thing. The emperor asked who he was. He said, "I'm the Zhong Kui who failed the military examination." The emperor woke up and the illness was gone. He sent for Wu Daozi, the most celebrated painter of the age, and had him paint the man from the dream. The problem is that this dream has a second version. A large Ming encyclopedia quotes a book called Tang Yishi, same emperor, same dream, same big ghost eating a small one, and every detail different. The small ghost has a name this time. It calls itself Shu Hao, the waster, and says it turns a household's joys into sorrows. The big one's outfit is described precisely: a broken cap, a blue robe, a horn belt, court boots, and his self-introduction contradicts the other version. A Jinshi, a graduate of the civil examination from Mount Zhongnan, who failed the exam in the Wu era and killed himself against the palace steps. Count the differences: the Reign era, Kaiyuan against Wu, 100 years apart, the exam military against civil. The death one version doesn't mention it, the other has him dashing his head on the steps. Even the aftermath differs. In this version, the emperor grants him a green robe for burial. 2 accounts of the same event and not one detail matches. That's the second crack, and it's worse than the first. If this man really existed, why can't anyone agree on what year he failed, what he sat for, or how he died? Back to Wu Daozi's painting. It did not survive. The earliest Zhong Kui painting in the image library I'm working from is by Zhong Kui, 1222 to 1307, Yuan dynasty, roughly 5 centuries after Wu Daozi. That's Zhong Kui's. You can see Zhong Kui being carried along by a troop of ghosts. It stands 500 years away from the dream. But here's the interesting part. The painting is gone, and somebody wrote it down. A Ming encyclopedia has an entry headed, "The Zhong Kui type," describing Wu Daozi's painting item by item. A blue robe, 1 foot bare, blind in 1 eye, a tablet at his waist, a cloth wrapped round his head, hair wild underneath. Left hand gripping a ghost, right hand gouging out its eye. Look at those 3 characters, Miao Yimu, blind in 1 eye. Almost none of the later Zhong Kui paintings show him one-eyed. The blind eye on the earliest painting got dropped somewhere along the way. The same entry records something else. The painting later reached the ruler of Shu, who prized it and kept it hanging in his bedchamber. One day he summoned the painter Huang Quan and said, "Wouldn't this be stronger if Zhong Kui gouged the eye with his thumb instead? Change it for me." Huang Quan took it home, studied it for several days, and then, rather than touch the original, painted a new one and submitted that. Asked why, he said, "In Wu Daozi's painting, the whole body's force, its color, its expression, all sit in the second finger, not the thumb, so I did not dare alter it." The entry adds that in the 5 dynasties court, in the last 10 days of the 12th month, academy painters who specialized in gods and ghosts submitted a Zhong Kui as a matter of routine. a painter who wouldn't change one finger, a court that did this every December. In that period, this figure was treated as something real. In the 11th century, someone got suspicious about the whole thing. His name was Shen Kuo, and he wrote 6 characters. No one knows when this began. By the time he wrote that, the dream story had been current for 300 years. He still didn't believe it. Later, he recorded something in the Huangyu era. A tomb was opened at Jinling, Nanjing today. Inside was an epitaph stone, a slab buried with the coffin carved with who the dead person was and who their family were, cut at the time of burial. The inscription identified the occupant as Lady Zheng, mother of Zhong Kui, a general of the Liu Song dynasty in the south. And it mentioned a daughter of the household. Her name was Zhong Kui. The Liu Song is the 5th century, Kaiyuan is the early 8th. More than 200 years before Xuanzong had that dream, a family had already given a daughter this name. And naming a child has a prerequisite. The name has to exist first. Shen Kuo's conclusion is a single clause. Whatever Zhong Kui is, it goes back a great deal further than the dream. Later readers turned up more. The northern Zhou had a senior commander named Qiao Zhongkui, and another man was called Gong Zhongkui. A Qing scholar also mentions fragments of 6 dynasties still found in abandoned graveyards with the 2 characters carved on them. But the line that gives it away is elsewhere in the history of the northern dynasties. A man of the northern Wei named Yao Shen had the given name Zhongkui and the courtesy name Bixi, wards off evil. In classical naming, a man's given name and his courtesy name explain each other. His name was Zhongkui and his courtesy name was wards off evil, meaning that to people of that era, those 2 characters meant warding off evil. Those 2 characters described a function. So the question changes, what did those 2 characters originally mean? The answer is in a book older than all of this. The Rites of Zhou describes the emperor's great jade tablet, 3 feet long with a zhongkui head. The commentary is blunt. In the dialect of Qi, zhongkui means a mallet. The head of the jade tablet was shaped like a mallet, so zhongkui began as the name of an object. There's corroboration. When the commentary to the Huainanzi explains what a court tablet is, it uses the same formula. 2 books from different textual traditions, the same length, the same mallet head. So, what does a mallet have to do with ghosts? Guyan Wu found that link. He dug out a Han Dynasty rhapsody by Ma Rong containing 6 characters. Swing the zhongkui, raise the jade axe. Guyan Wu's reading, people drove out ghosts with a mallet, in the same way the great exorcism ritual used a dagger axe and a shield. A mallet, an object for hitting ghosts. And here Zhao Yi joins the whole chain together, his words. Zhongkui was originally used to drive out ghosts. Later, because it warded off evil, people took it as a personal name. Passed down long enough, they forgot it had been an object that warded off evil, and supposed it was a person who drove out ghosts. And finally invented a real man surnamed Zhong, named Kui, who ate ghosts. A thing becomes a name becomes a man. And Zhao Yi is honest. In the same passage he admits, there's a link he could not close, how the Zhongkui on a jade tablet turned into the Zhongkui in a personal name. He didn't overstate it, that makes him more credible, not less. Step back once more, who was swinging that mallet? The Rites of Zhou has an answer, and I think it's the most counterintuitive thing in this episode. 1,000 years before, there was a man called Zhong Kui. Driving out ghosts was a job on the payroll. The office was called fangxiangshi. The duties are spelled out. Wearing a bear skin, a mask with 4 golden eyes, black robe and red skirt, a dagger axe in one hand and a raised shield in the other. Leading 100 attendants in the seasonal exorcism, searching room by room to drive out plague. Note that last word, plague. What he drove out was disease. Read that against the dream. When Xuanzong dreamed of Zhong Kui, what he had was malaria. 1,000 years apart, the outer shell of the story is completely different, and the core is the same. Something wearing a terrifying face takes your illness away. And then there's the staffing, where the Rites of Zhou lists headcounts. 4 men to the post, and the 4 are designated madmen. An official government position, job description, dress as a ghost, and beat ghosts. Qualification, madman. One more question, before Zhong Kui went up on the door, who was on it? And in dynasty households already pasted something on their doors, and it was 2 other figures. Wang Chong and Ying Shao both record the same story. In high antiquity there were 2 brothers, Shentu and Yulei, born able to catch ghosts. They lived on Mount Dushuo in the eastern sea, where a great peach tree grew, and under that tree they inspected the 100 ghosts one by one. Any that were unreasonable and harmed people, they bound with reed rope. So Handors carried peachwood, reed rope, and pictures of these 2 brothers. That's where the peachwood charm comes from. These 2 predate Zhong Kui by at least 600 years, and after Zhong Kui took over, one more detail says a great deal. A Qing catalog of plays records a stage setup. Yu Qi Jingde and Qin Shubao guard the front gate, and Zhong Kui guards the back door. The post was always there. Shentu and Yulei sat in it first, then Qin Shubao and Yu Qijingde arrived, and Zhong Kui ranks at the back door, a seat waiting to be filled, and even a pecking order. Which is exactly the point. What matters was never who is sitting in it. We've been walking backwards all the way to the Zhou, now turn around, because the invention Zhao Yi described never stopped, before his time or after. The first example comes out of Shen Kuo's stone. Remember that line on the epitaph, Zhong Kui had a sister named Zhong Kui. Shen Kuo used it to prove the name was old, but by the time later readers reached that sentence, the Zhong Kui in their heads was already a man. So a 5th century naming record turned, in their eyes, into breaking news. Zhong Kui has a sister. Which gave us Zhong Kui marries off his sister. Paintings, operas, performed to this day. Zhao Yi noticed this too. Shen Kuo dug up a stone meaning to dismantle the legend. A single line on that stone got absorbed back into the legend and grew an entire new repertoire. Evidence meant to disprove it became new material for the story. And the sister traveled faster than you'd think. Songwriters describing the 12th month in Kaifeng and Hangzhou record the same thing. Once the month began, poor men would form parties of 3 to 5, dress up as spirits, judges, Zhong Kui and little sister, beat gongs and drums, and go door to door asking for money. By the southern song, little sister was already a part you could put on. Second example is Ming and Qing, 3 vernacular novels written specifically about Zhong Kui, and the 3 are not about the same man. 3 emperors, 3 deaths, for a mount, 1 has none, 1 gives him a base, 1 gives him a horse. The base book even supplies a backstory. That creature was formerly Bo Pi of Wu, the man who destroyed Wu Zixu, sentenced after death to serve as Zhong Kui's mount. If Zhong Kui was a real man who lived, at least 2 of these 3 are making it up, but if he was constructed from the start, none of them is making it up. They're 3 independent construction projects. There's a 4th, and the 4th is the most revealing of all. A Qing catalog of plays records one called Tiansha Li, which runs through Zhong Kui's whole life. Start with the emperor. The first 3 had Xuanzong, Dezong. This one has a 4th emperor. Gaozu founded the Tang, nearly a century before Xuanzong. Then the sister. In everything up to now she is simply the sister. In this play she has a name, Mayor. And there's a man who has not appeared once so far. Duping, courtesy name, Zhongqing, of Qiantang in Hangzhou, a merchant family going back generations, enormously wealthy, orphaned young, and not yet married. Zhong Kui wants to sit the examination in the capital and has no money for the journey. Duping is giving away grain and cash at a temple. Zhong Kui hears of him and goes to call. Duping brings him straight home and gives him 100 taels of silver for the road, plus a sword. But the play's most consequential change is this. It explains why Zhong Kui is ugly. The 3 novels all say he was born ugly. This one says he wasn't. On the road to the capital he reaches a deep valley in the Yin Mountains at night and is surrounded by ghosts. When he gets free he has been altered. Hair gone dark blue, face blackened, a wild beard sprouting, earth stuffed in his mouth. His ugliness was done to him. The rest follows. He places first in the metropolitan examination, is failed at the palace examination for his appearance, and kills himself. The Jade Emperor appoints him general, who expels evil and beheads malignancy. Duping petitions on his behalf, asking for a shrine and a posthumous title, and rain falls within 3 days as promised. The court grants Zhong Kui the rank of top graduate and appoints Duping Grand Commissioner of the 5 roads. And Zhong Kui keeps the promise he made. He leads a troop of ghosts down out of the sky in person, with pipes and drums and lanterns and carriages, and marries his sister to Duping. The interesting part is that the compiler of this catalog could see the play was inventing. He flags 2 errors. The Tang had no such thing as a metropolitan graduate. That title starts in the Ming. And the play puts Mount Zhongnan in Hangzhou when Mount Zhongnan is in Shanxi. A Qing scholar recording the play and pointing out 2 places where it got the history wrong. By this stage of the construction work, people living at the time could see the seams. Now the piece I found myself. Zhong Kui carries a title almost everyone uses for him, Taoist exorcist deity. So I downloaded the complete Zhengtong Daozang, the Taoist canon compiled in the Ming Zhengtong era. The 3 caverns and 4 supplements, plus the material outside the canon proper, 1,721 works, 134 megabytes. Then I searched for Zhong Kui. 2 hits, I checked both, one at a time. The first was in a file listing left over from my own download, that is not canon text. The second was in a work called Shangxing Taishuan Zhu Yang Tu, inside a set of verses on the 12 hours of the day. Preceding line reads, You, dwelling deep in your chamber. That you is a second-person pronoun. It has nothing to do with the ghost catcher. Which means, across 1,721 Taoist books, Zhong Kui as a deity does not appear once. For scale, within one small portion of that same literature, city god appears 152 times and Tianpeng 140. Those are gods actually on the Taoist establishment. But there is one thing in that canon you can find. Commentary to the Huainanzi, the line I read out earlier. The mallet is there, the man is not. I'd ask you to weigh what kind of evidence that is. It's negative. I didn't pick one passage out of 1700 books to support a claim. I searched all of them and found he wasn't in there. The Taoist canon, 1700 works, has room for a gloss on the word for a mallet and no room for the Zhong Kui everyone calls a Taoist god. We started at a New Year print and ended up here. A mallet the people of Qi called Zhong Kui, an official who swung it in a bearskin and 4 golden eyes, with 4 madmen searching the rooms, a word people took for a child's name because it meant warding off evil. A daughter in a southern household, a few northern commanders, a broken stele in an abandoned graveyard. And then one day people forgot it had been a thing. Once they'd forgotten, the name needed a person attached, a face, a failed examination, a suicide, an emperor's dream. Attach enough of them and the versions stop agreeing, Kaiyuan or Wudem, military exam or civil, dashed his head or no mention at all. Those disagreements are the marks left by a man being built. So next New Year when you see that figure on a door, it's worth thinking about this. He had his name long before anyone dreamed him, and when that name was still a mallet, the door belonged to 2 other people. And in the Taoist canon's own 1721 books, he still hasn't got in. Next episode, the 2 who were pushed out.